Hey guys, this is Ray with Double R Diesel. Welcome back to my channel and my shop, and we're doing another question and answer and comment video series today. It is the 8th of June right now when I'm recording this. This will publish tomorrow morning, which will be Monday, June the 9th. But guys, picking right up where we left off before, I always want to bring you current news concerning things in our industry, particularly things that involve the United States government, the Environmental Protection Agency, and so on and so forth. So going back to, I believe it was March, I did a video in which I went through the cost of what it would take to replace all the emissions items that could possibly fail on a 13 through 18 model Ram 3500 with the Cummins, and basically, just made my case to, each and every one, including the government, how expensive it would be to maintain these systems on an older truck. And it was my thoughts that by making this case that maybe, I could make a case for us being able to legally delete after the useful, quote unquote, useful life of these emission systems have been reached. So I did a video, as you know, and I also have been emailing Lee Zeldin'S office in Washington, D.C. I told you that I have been doing that. I've been continuing to do that. I've just been a constant reminder in their inbox. So finally, believe it or not, I actually got a response to them in response to the letter that I have sent to Administrator Zeldin'S office. I didn't get a response directly from Administrator Zeldin, not surprised. So what they did do is his office asked the Office of Civil Enforcement to respond to my letter to him, and I'll just read you what they said. So, got official letter here. I'll try to post it so you can see it and read it for yourself. It was dated May the 30th, 2025. It's titled to me. It says, Dear Mr. Rich, thank you for your March 14th, 2025 email and accompanying video regarding your concerns about the Clean Air's prohibitions on tampering and aftermarket defeat devices as they relate to older diesel vehicles. I work in the office that enforces the parts of the United States Clean Air Act that addresses vehicle tampering, and I've been asked to provide a response. I appreciate your interest in this subject. Let me stop right here. So the guy that is writing me back, his name is, make sure I quote it correctly, Mark Palermo, Palermo. Anyway, he is the manager for Vehicle Engines Hydrofluorocarbons legal branch of the Air Enforcement Division. Mr. Mark is actually the boss of the people who interrogated me when I had my civil case with the Environmental Protection Agency. So when I was dealing with the lawyers during my civil case, the lawyers that I dealt with in DC, Mark was actually their boss. So Mark is like the head guy when it comes to civil enforcement. Picking back up in the letter, let's continue on what he said. He says, the Clean Air Act exists to protect public health and welfare by preventing air pollution. The Clean Air Act regulates air pollution from cars, trucks, and other vehicles by requiring them to meet pollution emission standards. The primary regulated air pollutants from vehicles include carbon monoxide, oxides of nitrogen, particulate matter, and non-methane hydrocarbons. Rather than test every vehicle, the Clean Air Act requires manufacturers to test representative models and certify that the design will conform to the appropriate emission standards for a minimum amount of time or distance known as useful life. So they're defining what useful life is here. Manufacturers also must warrant their vehicles against defects that could affect emissions for a minimum warranty period. Manufacturers use many different devices and elements of design to ensure that vehicles will meet pollution emission standards. These include electronic fueling calibrations, exhaust gas recirculation systems, particulate matter filters, catalytic converters, and other methods of controlling air pollution. Cars and trucks are also equipped with onboard diagnostic systems that monitor the other pollution controls to ensure they function properly and alert the driver if repair is needed. We all know that. When a manufacturer is able to demonstrate that their design will conform to the clean air standards, then the United States Environmental Protection Agency will issue the manufacturer a certificate of conformity for that design. The manufacturer cannot legally import or sell a vehicle unless it is covered by a certificate of conformity. So basically, what this all means is all the emissions controls, including the engine calibration, has to be certified by the EPA in order for it to be offered legally for sale to the public. So you kind of see the case that they're building here. And the case that they're building here is that you just don't tamper with it, period. Okay? It goes on and says, the Clean Air Act prohibits any person from tampering with these devices and elements of design installed by an original vehicle manufacturer to meet air pollution emission standards. The Clean Air Act also prohibits any person from manufacturing, selling, or installing aftermarket parts that defeat those devices or elements of design commonly known as aftermarket defeat devices. Let me read that again. The Clean Air Act also prohibits any person, me, you, shops, anybody, from manufacturing, selling, or installing aftermarket parts that defeat those devices or elements of design commonly known as aftermarket defeat devices. These prohibitions apply for the entire time a vehicle is in use. Let me read that again. These prohibitions apply for the entire time a vehicle is in use. The Clean Air Act does not limit prohibitions to a vehicle's useful life or provide an exception for vehicles that are beyond their useful lives. Let me read that one more time. The Clean Air Act does not limit prohibitions to a vehicle's useful life or provide an exception for vehicles that are beyond their useful lives. That right there says it all. So I'm going to go ahead and finish reading what they said though. The EPA takes vehicles tampering seriously because it significantly increases emissions of air pollutants that are harmful to human health. Emissions tests have shown that diesel pickup trucks emit between 30 and 300 times more NOx and between 50 and 40 times more particulate matter when their emissions controls are removed, depending on the drive cycle tested. The EPA estimates that tampering performed on diesel pickup trucks between 2010 and 2019 will cause the tampered trucks to emit an extra 570,000 tons of NOx, 500 tons of particulate matter. I meant 5,000 tons. Let me back up. Let me make sure I get all their statistics correct because I don't want to misquote their well-proven documented stuff here. The EPA estimates that tampering performed on diesel pickups between 2010 and 2019 will cause tampered trucks to emit an extra 570,000 tons of NOx and 5,000 tons of particulate matter in their lifetime. This is equivalent to adding over 9 million additional compliant, non-tampered diesel pickups on our road. So basically, their math says that the trucks that have been deleted from 2010 to 2019 will cause more pollution than having 9 million emissions compliant trucks, non-tampered trucks on the road. Okay. Anyway, he concludes and says, thank you for your email and your interest on this topic. For more information about how the EPA regulates vehicles, please visit the websites listed below. And it is signed by Mr. Mark Palermo. It's an official letter here, guys. You can agree, you can disagree with it. You know, take it for what you will, but I'll give them credit. They did send me a response into my thoughts and my questions about being able to remove emission systems after they have reached the useful life on an older truck. So here we are, guys. Don't particularly like the answer, but not surprised given what I have learned about where the EPA's at the past couple of weeks with enforcement and busting shops on selling defeat devices. So the EPA dumbing this down in a nutshell. They are saying it doesn't matter how old the truck is. It doesn't matter how many miles is on it. It doesn't matter how much it costs to replace the emission systems on the truck. If it's on the road and you own it, you are responsible for maintaining and replacing those systems when they fail to make sure that they are up to standard and working properly. And all the useful life is therefore is basically define a limit in which manufacturers will be off the hook for warranty information. It's basically the way I interpret it. I mean, you might interpret it some other way, but I believe it's just a standard in which manufacturers have to set themselves up to supposedly warranty emissions equipment, which in quite often cases now, they don't. If you compare what the government says useful life is versus what the dealer will warranty a DPF or SCR unit for, it don't add up. So, you know, I'll be careful and say, you know, I'll be on, you know, I try to understand both sides of the argument. And like I said, guys, I want clean air, want clean water. I'm not stupid. I would never say that I would never want that. I do want that. But some of their figures, I don't necessarily know how they come up with it. I don't necessarily agree with the science. I think there's some middle ground that could be found here, but they're not interested in any middle ground. And without it, the hand of God stepping in and making something happen, I'll go ahead and make this statement. We will never legally be able to delete our trucks, no matter what the purpose is, how old they are, so on and so forth. It's not going to happen unless something supernatural happens. I'm just going ahead and make that statement. So there you are, guys. I wanted to share that with you. An official statement from the United States Environmental Protection Agency in response to my question about being able to legally delete our trucks after the emissions system's useful life has been reached. The answer to that is a big fat no. Anyway, so moving on. Let me look, see if you guys have made any comments I need to respond to from last week. You know, I talked about what the government is continuing to do, what has happened in the past couple of weeks, and what's continuing to happen. Nothing's changing in DC. It's just a big old squabble up there right now. If you've been keeping up with the news, which I don't blame you if you're not. I'm about tired of watching it myself, but basically the headlines have been this week is Donald Trump and Elon Musk have been having a battle of egos. Congress is, the Senate's going to be picking apart the big beautiful bill here shortly. Nothing's really happening that's really making a dent in my personal life. I hope maybe some good things is happening for you guys. As far as other topics, a lot of people have asked me about doing a tuning class. That is going to happen. Right now, it's springtime, early summer. If you don't know, I've got another business called DRP Motorsports in which I tune a lot of gasoline vehicles and do modifications legally now. Don't get me wrong, I'm not doing illegal stuff here, but Tune a lot of Mustangs, F-150s, install supercharger kits, so on and so forth. And I've got a lot of guys hitting me up right now. Spring and early summers when a lot of guys get their cars and trucks out and they want to modify them and do stuff to them. And I'm really busy in the shop right now. But as the heat of the summer sets in, things will slow down. I have a little more spare time, and I will be doing a tutorial on how to use the Smarty software to tune your Cummins truck. That is coming. I'll work on it as soon as I can. It'll be up on my website, in which you can basically purchase it, and you'll be able to go back and watch it as many times each episode as you want. And I will provide some tuning support along with it, as far as like, if somebody wants to send me like a sample tune and me look over it and make comments and suggestions, we'll be able to do that. I think that's just probably the best thing to do moving forward. Let you guys take control of your own trucks and do with them as you wish. I think that, that's a way of me to be able to share my knowledge and still provide some income for my family based upon the knowledge that I have in my head. But as always, guys, I appreciate your comments. I appreciate you following along. Please make more comments, suggestions, your thoughts with any video that I put out. I just put out one yesterday concerning where I installed a cheap eBay intake on my 2013 shop truck. Pretty interesting how that turned out. Just goes to show you that, you don't have to spend a lot of money to make a difference. Some people may like it, some people may not like it. I'm not promoting one thing over the other. I like more expensive intake kits that I sell. They are higher quality versus something that you buy cheap off eBay, but what you buy off eBay or wherever, it might work just fine. That's just proving a point. And I'll just say this, given what's happened to me, and I've come, my income has been shortened. I've had to pinch pennies a lot harder than what I used to, which I'm not complaining. Puts me more in reality, and I thank God for that. But, we all don't want to spend more than what we have to spend, because money is tight, is what I'm trying to say. And I realize that and I appreciate that. So moving forward, you might see stuff on my YouTube channel, me testing out things, possibly promoting things that I can't even sell, that won't even profit me one bit. But I think it's good to, show you guys things that, you might would want to try that, don't cost as much as some other options that, might help somebody out, kind of deal. So I appreciate you following along. I appreciate, again, all your comments and suggestions. As always, guys, I hope you have a great week. God bless each and every one of you, and we will see you again real soon.